Alright, so we're continuing Pirkei Avot. We're holding pretty much towards the end of the series. Estimate that we have about Hashem. This last chapter, as I indicated last time, is really the importance of acquiring the Torah, especially that we customarily read this before Chag HaShavuot, the holiday of Shavuot. It is actually a good idea to have a good understanding of the value of the Torah for the Jew. The Torah is not only a mitzvah that we learn, that we fulfill. It is really our life. It guides us, it elevates us, it imbues us with tremendous morality, it gladdens our heart, it does so much for us. So the Torah, as the word is called Torah, meaning a teacher, a guide, is really the ultimate purpose for what we're here. It's interesting because people think, oh, I need to also learn Torah. You know, it's not just also. This is really the essence of the Jew, is the Torah. You cannot really survive spiritually without the Torah. And not everyone understands this, not everyone appreciates the value of Torah. And this Pirkei really does a little bit justice to the meaning of Torah, not just plain Torah, but Torah Lishma, especially Torah for its sake. It is a very, very important chapter, therefore, and I thought that it would be a good idea to include it in the series. We still have a few important Mishnayot left, and you will see how the preponderance or the great emphasis of what is being taught here is pretty much the same. And you say, well, couldn't we do it in one Mishnah? No, Mishnah after Mishnah, we get additional information as to why we should pursue this. So it's interesting. It's they keep it up. In other words, they don't let go, the rabbis, in reminding us until the very, very end. This is something that you want to pursue. Don't forget about it. Don't ignore it. This is not just a mitzvah. This is it. This encompasses everything. So in Mishnah Gimel we learn Halomed mechavero perek echad, או הלכה אחת, או פסוק אחד, או דיבור אחד, או אפילו אות אחת, צריך לנהוג בו כבוד. Whoever learns from his friend, whether it's one chapter, one halacha, one ruling, or instruction, or a pasuk, a verse, the interpretation of one verse in the Torah, or one saying, even one letter, needs to conduct himself with the proper respect for this individual who has taught him something of Torah. So the Mishnah here begins to clarify a different idea, that not only Torah in itself is something that we need to learn, we need to know, we need to be knowledgeable in. Somebody else who taught you any part of it, even something very minute, something minor, something that you may think is not so significant, we need to respect him. Why we need to respect him if it's just one pasuk, he didn't teach it that much? Because it's not so much the individual that you're respecting. We need to be respectful of every human being. The idea here is to say thank you and to be appreciative of Torah that we have acquired. Even every little bit of it, that we are now more knowledgeable than yesterday, is a tremendous gain. And in order to appreciate that gain, we say thank you and we show respect to that individual, to the source who provided us with that learning. So it's not so much the person, not so much the individual, even though we're being respectful of him, but we're really being respectful and appreciative of the Torah that he imparted on us, that he has given us. And therefore this is even something small. What's the difference? Every little bit of Torah counts. Every little bit is important. To better understand this idea, we have a halacha that most of you are familiar with, I'm sure, that when you see the Sefer Torah being taken out from the Aron HaKodesh, you get up. We get up. We give kavod for the Torah. This is important that we train ourselves that which is holy, that which is important to us, we show proper respect. I mean, if we don't, then Chaz v'shalom, God forbid, we're going to let go of it sooner or later. By giving it the proper kavod, hopefully it will stay with us. We want to give it to our children as well, because We look up to it. So in the same way we stand up for the Sefer Torah, the Halakha says you stand up before a Talmid Chacham, a big rabbi, a learned man, a scholar, who walks in, goes by, depending on the situation, of course. You're showing the proper kavod, not so much for the person himself, it is for the Torah that he has. So when we get up for someone who is learned in Torah, it's because of the Torah that he has, that he possesses. Again, we're showing a form of kavod for the Torah or for those who have the Torah. What's interesting about this Mishnah is the Mishnah continues on to say, you want proof, a little bit of proof, that you should give kavod to anyone who has taught you a little bit of Torah. שכן מצינו בדוד מלך ישראל שלא למד מאחיתופל אלא שני דברים בלבד, וקראו רבו, אלופו ומיודעו, שנאמר ואתה אנוש כי ערכי אלופי ומיודעי. Look at David. David was king, an important king, a very great man in his own right. And he had an advisor by the name of Achitophel. I don't know how many of you read the story. There's some mention, of course, of Achitophel in Tanakh. Achitophel in the beginning was an advisor. He was a wise man. And he was the advisor of David HaMelech. So you assume, that this advisor was in good terms with him for a while. Unfortunately, at the end, Achitophel betrayed David because he became friends or more friendly with Avshalom, the son of David. What's wrong with that? Well, Avshalom unfortunately rebelled against his father. If you know the story, David HaMelech suffered a great deal from Avshalom, his son. And Achitophel took Avshalom's side. So in the end, this advisor became the enemy of all people. So even though he was a wise man and he was a friend in the beginning, he eventually turned against David. This Achitophel taught David HaMelech a couple things. Several, not that major, but some important things, nevertheless. I think some of the examples that are mentioned is that he told David, don't pray by yourself. It is better to pray in a minyan, in a tzibur, because the prayer is much more accepted when there's greater honor to the king. Berov am hadrat melech. The more people are in a shul, in a place, in prayer, the more glory, the more kavod, honor to the king. So, you don't want to pray by yourself. He told him not to learn by himself. You learn by yourself, you forget you're learning. You want to learn with someone, learn with me, I'll learn with you. He taught him some ideas like that. And as a result of the little bit that he taught him, he called him his master, his teacher, and his good friend. In other words, not just a good friend, a friend that has taught him, has shown him, has instructed him. Beautiful, beautiful way of describing an individual who's been kind enough to teach him, even though it was just a little bit of halakha, just a little bit of Torah, nothing major. But he's calling him basically with titles of teacher, master, one who informs, is not just a friend, someone who shares knowledge with him. And if David HaMelech is giving such great honor and kavod to somebody who turned against him, all he was an advisor. So what do we see from this? Alot dvarim kal v'chomer. The more so, ma David Melech Yisrael, shelo lamad me'achitofel ela shnei dvarim belvad. All he learned was two things, two minor details. Kera'o rabo alufo miyuda'o. He called them all these titles of teachers and rabbi and so forth. So halomed mechavero perek echad. So if one who learns from his friend an entire perek, an entire chapter, or halacha achad, a whole halacha, or pasuk echad, or a verse, or dibur echad, some saying, afilu ot echad, really, alachat kama vekama shetzarich linhog bo kavod, the more so the one has to show kavod. what's the relationship here? Just because David HaMelech gave kavod to him, we should give kavod to somebody who teaches us even one letter? What is this idea of one word, one letter? Well, one letter in Lashon HaKodesh can make a big difference. If something is written with an aleph or written with an ayin, even though they are pronounced almost the same, it's a world of a difference. If one letter is missing in the Sefer Torah, it's pasul. That's how we know the significance even of one letter. So even one letter can make a big difference. And as we said earlier, it's not the amount, it's not just the halakha here that is being taught. It is the idea that more and more Torah is being acquired by us, more knowledge of the Torah, and we're appreciative of that, and therefore we show our appreciation and our respect to the source, whoever that source may be, even if they're younger than us. Makes no difference. That is the point that the rabbis are telling us here, is show kavod for this, be thankful, because it's not so much the individual who may need your thanks and your appreciation, which is also good, but it's that you want to show that this is important to you. He's your teacher. Yes? Yeah.
It's unique because the Melech later on in the Tehillim curses Achitophel as an example to others. But here it says, I respect him. He was my confidant. He was my teacher. So even more so that he hated him. And
he became his enemy. Sure, he became his enemy. Yeah.
Well, he curses him in the Tehillim. He says
sure.
He should be cursed.
Yeah, sure.
Anybody who follows
Rabbis say he doesn't have Olam Haba, Chelik to Olam Haba, Achitophel. You can even go to that extent.
But
this individual doesn't even have a Chelik to Olam Haba as a result of what he did, as a result of the way he conducted himself. Nonetheless, what we're doing is we're not taking away the little bit of good that he did. Plus, we're trying to emphasize, of course, that what matters here is Torah. Now, the comparison may not be a good comparison here. You're saying, from Achitophel to your friend, why is your friend any better or greater? It's important because Achitophel was what you said, not necessarily a good person, in the end at least. So whatever you learn from him may not be so good, because what's the source that's teaching you this? Not such a good source. Your friend is a much better source, a positive source, so it makes sense that you should be more appreciative. So the idea here, that is what the Mishnah is saying, kol sheken, right? The more so. Al achat kama vekama, the more so. A friend who is a good person, a righteous individual, if you're learning from him Torah, that Torah is coming from a good source, then obviously you have to show respect to him. But the more important thing to remember here is not necessarily where it came from, but the fact that we gained knowledge of Torah, and to show appreciation for that, and to show importance, how important it is to us, we give kavod to that. Ve'en kavod el Torah. And the real, or the true kavod is Torah. Shene'emar kavod chachamim inchalu. Who will inherit kavod? Who will be ultimately respected? The chachamim who have the Torah. What is it telling us over here? There's different kinds of kavod in the world. There is kavod that people give to those who have money, to those who are in a position of power. Rightfully so. They deserve it. But why do we give them kavod? Not because of what they are, but because of what they have. You give kavod to a wealthy man, you're supposed to, because of what he has. Baruch Hashem, Hashem blessed him. He has kavod, he's in a position of power, but it's only what they have. The real kavod belongs to those who themselves are transformed and become who they become. In other words, their essence is special, and that is through Torah. The Torah transforms the individual to become something that the Torah is a part of him. It's not that he has it. The Torah is in him. The essence of the individual who has Torah is the Torah. As opposed to money and positions of honor, it's not who he is. He may be a nothing. A homeless man who just inherited a lot of money. Uneducated, illiterate. He's nothing. He has money. So we're giving kavod to the fact of that he has something that is obviously respectful. People like it. People, of course, have a need for it. A lot of people I've noticed, have complained that, certain rabbis who received support from very wealthy individuals give them so much kavod, much more than the ordinary people. And they say it's not fair. They should also let us talk to them. And why let him come in first through the back door? And I've seen this myself happen. And if you think about it a little bit more, you say to yourself, even though it appears not unfair, it is justified. It is justified because these individuals deserve the kavod for the support they give. They don't deserve it? This person gives $1 million for this institution. And that helps pay a lot of the bills. He should not give him more kavod. No, don't show any preference. Of course you can't. You can't do that. It's not right. He does deserve more kavod. It's not a matter of showing favoritism. It's a matter of giving kavod because the person deserves the kavod for doing what he does. But the real kavod, nonetheless, is not for what somebody has, is for Torah. Ultimately, the Torah is what we elevate more than anything else. So an individual who has the Torah, that is ultimately the source of kavod, or that is where kavod is more deserved. שנאמר כבוד חכמים נחלו תמימים ינחלו טוב. As the pasuk points this out, who eventually inherits the good and the kavod. And what is this tov that they will inherit? ואין טוב אלא תורה. Torah is called tov, שנאמר כי לקח טוב נתתי לכם תורתי אל תעזבו. Hashem tells us, reminds us, I've given you something, an asset that is very valuable, that is so good. It's called Torah. Don't let go of it. You don't realize how special it is. I'm letting you right now know, and remember that this is a very, very precious asset. Some people think of the mitzvot as something burdensome, something heavy. They don't realize it's for their own good. Imagine if somebody gave you right now a valise of gold bricks. I think each one weighs about 25 pounds. I forget about one of those bricks in Fort Knox. Today, gold is very, very valuable. And the valise is pretty heavy. Are you going to complain? He says, go ahead, it's for you. Oh, but it's heavy. It doesn't make sense that somebody should complain about that. You know what? To make it maybe easier to understand, people cannot imagine what a brick of gold is. There are suitcases where some people stack with $100 bills. It could be, of course, drug people. Or it could be somebody going to pay for cash for something. Legal money. It's impressive, to see all those bundles. Is anybody going to complain about how heavy it is if he gets one of those? I don't think so, because they are able to identify what the value is, what they can do with that. Not everybody understands that the Torah is much, much greater, more valuable than anything we can imagine. Well, it's heavy. Yeah, but you realize what this does for you? So we'll talk a little bit about that as we go along. But that's why it says it's tov. It has so much to offer. Don't let go of it. When it comes to kavod, rabbis tell us, if somebody has a teacher who has taught him most of his Torah, he should honor him even more than his own father. Doesn't mean you should not honor his father, but sometimes you honor that individual even more. Why? Because the father brought you to the physical olam hazeh. He gave birth to you. And this individual is bringing you to olam haba. So what's more important? The one who brought you into this world, or the one who's actually, as a result of all that teaching, enabling you to get to Olam Haba? The kavod, therefore, for this individual is immense because of what he has accomplished. Ultimately, the Torah is the ultimate source, as we said before, of kavod, because of what it does for us. Not only because it's divine, not only because Hashem is the one that gave it to us, but we recognize how much it does for us. So therefore we value it, or we should value it, more than anything else, if we realize what it does to us, what it does for us. All right, next Mishnah. Mishnah Dalet. This is a very unusual Mishnah, and some people don't understand it because they think it's extreme. So we'll go at it slow. Kachi darka shel Torah. You want to know what the derech, what the way of Torah is, what the life of Torah is like? So let me first read it and then I'll explain it. The way of Torah is pat b'melech tochal. You're only supposed to have bread and water every day. No meat, no chicken, no fish. That's what it sounds like, right? It says pat b'melech tochal. You eat bread and water. Mayim b'mesurat tishteh. Bread and salt. Mayim b'mesurat tishteh. And you drink just enough water that you need. B'mesurah, according to the measure. V'la'aretz tishan, and you sleep on the floor. What are those mattresses called? Sealy? Posturpedic? You know, all those comfortable ones? Yeah? No, doesn't say that here. It says Al-Aretz Tishan on the floor. You live a life of pain, and you labor in Torah. And if you do so, you will have it good in this world and in the next world. You will be fortunate in this world, it will be good to you. In other words, you will have it good in both worlds. Really? Have a difficult, painful life with the bare minimum, and you will have it good in this world? In the world to come, I don't know. They tell me so. But in this world, so what's going on over here? What is the Mishnah telling us to do here? Okay. It's very important not to misunderstand this. Otherwise, some person may tomorrow start a new diet. You know, bread and water and sleep on the floor. No. That's not good. It's not healthy and it's not right. That's not what is being taught here. Kachi darka shel Torah. The darka shel Torah means that this is the derech, or this is what the Torah wants to show us or teach us. Okay? It's not, this is what you have to experience. What about the wealthy people who have a nice home, comfortable beds? Are they doing something wrong? No. Kachi darka shel Torah, the Torah wants to show us how we acquire her, how we can succeed in learning her, that it may require certain amounts of sacrifice in order to achieve that. So therefore, this way of pat b'melech tochal, which means we're limiting ourselves to what we eat and how we sleep, what we're really doing is getting used to, or teaching ourselves to get used to, or teaching us to have a proper understanding about what's important in life and what's not as important. And one of the important things to learn in life, hopefully early on, is midat ha'istapkut, is how to get along with less. A lot of people have a hard time with this. How to get by with less. That's called histapkut. Train yourself, that's what the Mishnah is really saying. Don't necessarily do this, but train yourself to be able to get by. If it ever comes up like that you don't have that much, then you can get by with the bare minimum. So, nothing wrong with that. Teach yourself. But it's telling us more than that. Not just to teach yourself or train yourself to get by with the bare minimum. Don't actively pursue motarot, excesses. have to have the latest car, have to have the most expensive, I don't know, suit, and shirts, and motarot, excesses. You know, there's all kinds, you know what I mean by excesses. Oh, you know, the best foods and the best restaurants. Don't live a life of where you allow yourself excesses. Unless the individual does not want to acquire Torah. If the goal is to acquire Torah properly, that the Torah will have a true impact on the individual, that he will be able to immerse himself in the sea of Torah and become knowledgeable in Torah, he will not be able to succeed if he lives a life of excesses of materialism. Impossible. The two are not compatible. That's what it's telling us over here. Get used to, at least in your mind, and of course in your conduct, to try to get by with the bare minimum. Just what you need. It doesn't mean it has to be just salt, bread and salt. It could be more than that. But at least train yourself that you can do it. Just don't go into excesses. But what about sleeping on the floor? I mean, that's hard. The point is like this. If you were to read stories of the past, of how people learned in yeshivot in the past, whether it was in Lithuania or earlier on in Babylonia, life was much more primitive then than it is today. I think all of you know that, right? A lot of kids who left their homes, their comfortable homes, to go to a yeshiva, you think the yeshiva had comfortable settings? No. There were many, many people, many students who learned Torah and slept on a bench. No beds. In yeshivot, they slept on the same bench that they learned Torah. Some of you may not even know this. I know people who are still alive today who did that. They slept on the bench. Maybe not every night of the year. Maybe for Shabbat they went to somebody's home who invited them to eat and so forth. But that's where they slept. Some people learned and slept on the same bench. Ha'la'aretz tishan, therefore, is reminding us that Torah, to succeed in Torah, of course, Torah is not demanding this of us. But if you want to succeed, it requires amal. It requires amal. Amal means labor, a labor of love. It requires hard work. And hard work involves basically being prepared to give up a lot of the luxuries and comforts in life if you want to succeed in Torah. The Rambam talks about this, and he says it in different words, that whoever wants to acquire the crown of Torah has to get used to this kind of a lifestyle, or at least understand that even if he has all the money and the comforts, he can't get himself used to all those comforts, because otherwise he won't acquire the crown of Torah. Just imagine yourselves, you come home, Baruch Hashem, after a long day's work, and you have a comfortable, what do you call those, reclining chairs? Is that what they're called? Leather reclining chair. And you take yourself the Chumash, you want to review the parasha, and you hold a cigar in one hand and a cup of coffee on the other hand. And you recline, and you have the Chumash in front of you. What's going to happen after about 60 seconds? You're going to fall asleep. Maybe not 60 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I guarantee it. And even if you did not work hard the whole day, it still will happen. Being in that position of comfort, with a cup of coffee, with a cigar, or whatever, that's not how you learn. That's how you read Shakespeare, maybe. If you have to fall asleep on that, well, nothing will happen. You'll continue another day. Or if you're reading some article in some magazine, obviously that is much better than Shakespeare, but so what? If you want to learn Torah, you're going to fall asleep. And even if you don't fall asleep, you can't concentrate like that. I had an uncle, alav shalom, that when it was getting late at night and he was learning Torah and he was about to fall asleep, he brought a bucket of water, took off his shoes and socks and put his feet in the bucket of water and stood up for a couple hours in a bucket of water, cold water, so you shouldn't fall asleep. What do you do when you're driving at night and you're tired or you're afraid that you may fall asleep? What do? You open the windows. Music, it depends which music, not Persian music, because it's it's going to depress you a little bit. Yeah, lively music. Yeah, and you open the windows, and if you can, have a cup of coffee before, right? You don't want to fall asleep. You're driving. Torah, you want to fall asleep? Chas v'shalom. That's the idea here. The idea here is if you want to acquire Torah, it requires hard work. It requires a mindset that is not accustomed to all these pleasures and comforts. He doesn't feel that he needs them, that he depends on them. Not that he doesn't have them. He may have them in his house. He can enjoy them occasionally. He can have a nice car, but not that he feels that he needs this, that he wants this, that he will pursue this, that he has to have this. That you can't have that kind of an attitude because it's not compatible with Torah. The Torah lo mistaderet, as we say in Hebrew, im nochiyut. It does not get along with comfort. You can have comfort, have a comfortable life, but if you want to acquire, really acquire, it will be difficult to have a very comfortable lifestyle, in every respect comfortable, and still be able to work hard in learning Torah. Because learning requires persistence, right? Patience, hard work, dedication. All of these important ideas that I just mentioned, dedication, patience, with comfort, they don't get along. It doesn't work. They don't go together. What's interesting, however, is when people want to make money, and in order to get this deal of a lifetime, they're going to make a lot of money, they have to travel to Hong Kong, to Guangzhou, whatever. They have to go somewhere far. And imagine that they're told, I haven't been there yet, but imagine that they're told, imagine we're talking about 40 years ago. Today they have fancy hotels there, I'm assuming. Sir, the only place you can stay here is in this dilapidated place. Motel 6 is a palace compared to this. Dilapidated. Where you have to share the bathroom. There are places like that where several rooms in a hotel still share one bathroom. Well, here, in this particular hotel, not only do you have to share bathroom, the bathroom is outside. It's a hole in the ground. Do you remember that, Avram, from Iran? A hole in the ground? Yeah.
67 years ago.
Yeah. Very primitive. And beds, straw. Made out of straw. That's where you sleep. And food, there's barely any food there because there's no kosher food. You can only eat fruits and vegetables. So you're going to be hungry. This is a long journey. And the conditions are going to be very dismal, as they say. Very bad, very poor. Why do people still go? They go. People still travel. Because they're going to buy diamonds. They're going to buy sapphires. They're going to buy emeralds, depending on the country, for cheap, relatively. And they're going to bring it over and make a lot of money. They're willing to sacrifice. They're willing to sacrifice. Okay, so for a week, I sleep like that. But when I come home, I'll be back in a comfortable bed. For a week, I can handle it. Sensitive people, of course, can't handle this, but the majority of people can handle this if they know that it's worth it for them. Right? What if I were to tell you, listen, you can go pick up some jewels, I tell you the address, and the profit will be $500,000 when you come over here. Guaranteed. Not maybe. Guaranteed. It's secure. But you have to live in these conditions. Would you do it or not? Do I hear any no's? That means everybody agrees. Yes, of course. Why not? Well, just go ahead. $500,000. Why not? It's a good profit. It will last you for a little bit of time. Right? If people are willing to do this for Olam Hazeh, then why not do it for Olam Haba? Why not do it for Olam Haba? Only for one reason. They don't really see the value. They don't appreciate. They don't understand that this is even greater than everything else. The first impression, however, from this Mishnah could be that people think, oh, the Torah is preaching Nezirut. In English, that's called asceticism. You know, there are people who are ascetic, you know, they deprive themselves of everything, like monks. You know, they live a very Puritan type of life. They might think the Torah teaches that. Chaz v'shalom, chaz v'shalom. On the contrary, Hashem says, I want you to enjoy my world. I made a beautiful world. Taste every fruit you can get your hands of. Yeah, the Gemara says that upstairs we will have to give an accounting for all those fruits that we may have seen and did not want to try and make a blessing over it. What does Hashem care? No, Hashem says, I want you to enjoy my world. Everything, of course, according to the right measure. Don't be an extremist. Don't overdo it. You know, there's always arguments in the press about coffee, chocolate. Is it good for you or is it bad for you? Every Monday and Thursday they change their minds. Everybody agrees, however, that don't overdo anything. As they say in Yiddish, zu viel is nicht gut. Too much of anything that is good is no good, except for Torah, of course. But a little bit of coffee, why not? So I explain it. If Hashem made the coffee tree, He obviously made it for a reason. Okay, maybe we have not yet discovered how to process it. But apparently, after oil, it's one of the biggest businesses in the world, the coffee beans. You know how much is being grown and cultivated all over the world because it's a good business. And people get a lot of benefit from it. It's tasty. How do you start your day without coffee? Yeah, it's become so used to it. And there's a lot of good things about it. Antioxidants, right? And caffeine, which is good too. You feel better, you're sharper. I assure you, I guarantee you, especially if it's a strong coffee, you will see. It's noticeable. So Hashem wants us to enjoy. He made all these things. He made marijuana too, but not for us. Yeah? That's for medicine maybe, for people who are in pain. But Hashem wants us to enjoy. So what is this Mishnah telling us? To be ascetic? To deprive? No. Chaz v'shalom. All of you heard of the word Nazir? What's a Nazir? For 30 days I don't want to have any wine. I'm going to stay away from certain things, not become tameh, unclean. Very nice of you. We look up to you because you're disciplining yourself. That's what he wants to do. Nevertheless, when he finishes, he brings a sacrifice. Why? So the commentaries say, because nonetheless, even though it's admirable, his feat, his accomplishment, chata, he committed a sin. Because Hashem says, you're allowed to have wine and you say no? Don't you think 613 commandments is enough? You want to add another one? You bring a sacrifice for that. So it is a good thing what he did in a sense, if he needs to discipline himself. He says, I have a bad habit. Maybe his bad habit is he's an alcoholic. He says, you know what, Hashem, 30 days, not even one drop of wine. Yafeh me'od, very nice. But you're still going to bring a sacrifice. Yeah.
How about Shmuel and Shimshon and those individuals who are Nazireen from birth?
Right.
Were they sinning?
No. That is by instruction of Hashem, because they are holy and they have a holy mission. So that was an exception.
But normal individuals should not.
No individual, he wants to deprive himself of bread. Bread? Unless, of course, he has allergies. That's different. Why are you depriving yourself? No, I don't want to have oranges. Why? It doesn't make sense. If you're disciplining yourself, it makes some sense, but even then you bring a korban if you were in a real nazir. Why? Try to discipline yourself without nazilut, in some other fashion. But anyway, this is just an example of why it's not necessarily something looked highly on. In other words, that a person is depriving himself. On the other hand, of course, it's good and positive because he's disciplining himself. On the other hand, however, the Torah does not want us to deprive ourselves too much. You don't want to eat a lot, that's very good. Kedoshim to you, be holy. Kadshu tatzmechem b'ma shemutar lachem, the rabbis tell us. To sanctify yourself does not mean just to stay away from things that make us unclean. It's to sanctify ourselves in that which is permissible, so that we should not overdo it. Because when you overdo something, you become very immersed in that physical type of lifestyle that it takes you away from the holiness and from the mitzvot. So you want to have good control and not overdo anything. That's called kedusha. So here I want to make clear, the rabbis are not telling us that the way of the Torah is to be a nazir, to deprive yourself and to be ascetic. No, the Torah does not encourage that. The main message behind this Mishnah is that in order to acquire the Torah, you need to invest a lot, and investment requires sometimes sacrifice. That's all. So get used to this thought, that in order to accomplish a lot in Torah, you may have to give up certain comforts that other people on the average may have. You may not be able to have it. Otherwise, a person may say, okay, I want to learn Torah, but the yeshiva that I go to has to be 5-star hotel. Otherwise, I don't want to. Otherwise, I want to stay home. Otherwise, if I don't have a car, No. If you don't have it, if you have it, then you're a lucky man. All right. If you don't have it, don't think that you have to have it. No, because it's not going to work out. And even if you do have it, be careful not to overdo it, because it will interfere with your acquiring of Torah. Another message over here is for a poor man who really does not have anything. That should not be an excuse not to learn Torah. Because this is the way of the Torah. You may not have anything and you still have to learn. The more so, if Hashem blessed one and he has the wealth that he is more than the average individual required to learn and spend more time. Imagine somebody who makes a lot of money because he has a factory and it's doing well. And he doesn't really have to spend there 8-10 hours a day because he has good managers that he trusts. He only needs to be there 2-3 hours and everything will be fine. Why should he stay there longer? Let him go home. Let him go to a shiur. They don't need you at the factory anymore. You don't have to be there. You can close shop. I told you the story. There's a business in Mea Shearim. I still think it's there. The man sells eyeglasses and he's only open from 5 to 8 in the afternoon. He learns Torah the rest of the day. He says, whoever needs to see me will come between 5 to 8. And guess what? That's what happens. People know that he's not open in the morning. They come 5 to 8. And he's fine. He's making a living. So Hashem, of course, helps those who try to accommodate the Torah seriously. And they obviously need to make a living too. So even if a person does not have, he should not give up the Torah. One who has more, the more so. Another message that can be inferred over here is that there are individuals who have the following attitude. Hashem, I plan to sit down and learn Torah, and I promise you I will learn the Chumash and Mishnah and Halacha, I keep Shabbat, and do all the mitzvot. But first, number one, I want to be mesudar, as we say in Hebrew. Mesudar. It's a very, very common, popular word in Israel that means all set up. I want to have a house, a car, and a dog. The American dream, right? After I'm all set up, I don't know if there's another word in English. Everything is completely comfortable. Mesudar. Then I'll sit down and learn Torah. Guess what will happen? He will, an entire lifetime, try to get to that stage where he will be eventually Mesudar, and by the time, if he ever gets there, the time will run out. And he has to pack his bags and leave. Life is over. If a person waits until everything is just right, it may never happen in his lifetime. Therefore, even though right now things are not as comfortable, you don't have everything, all you have is Pat Bamelach, don't push off the Torah. Start learning now. Procrastination, pushing off, is a very, very big Yetzer Hara. For a lot of people, it's a problem. You know, everybody likes to say, "Manyan, I'll take care of it." You know, I'll take care of it another time. You know, when things are better, when I get married. You know, and I make fun of it. Somebody once told me, Rabbi, I just came from Israel, and I want to make some money. So please, don't tell me to put on tefillin, keep Shabbat and everything. I first want to make money, then I'm going to buy a house, right? Then I'm going to get married, and after that, I'll keep Shabbat. He says, by the time you make all this money that you're thinking of, you're going to be fat and bald, and nobody's going to want to marry you, right? And after that, you're going to be too old, and you won't be able to keep all these things. It's harder. The older you get, the harder it is. You don't want to push things off. You know, eventually, when I make money and I buy a house, eventually I settle down, I get married, then I'll do it. Who says, first of all, it's going to happen? And if it does, it's going to get harder. And who says your wife is going to want everything you want? You know, there's so many unknowns in life. Why push it off? You see? So the Mishnah is telling us, if you get used to these ideas of histapkut, of managing with less, you have less worries. You won't push necessarily things off. That's what histapkut does. It's a beautiful midah. Get used to living with a little bit. There's another word in English for histapkut, is just being content with a little bit. Just a little bit. Yeah. In Spanish, there's a better word for it. It's called arreglárselas. You know that word? Arreglárselas. You know, we can just get by. We can manage in a way that we don't feel that we have all these needs, right? That's great, because if you can get to that mindset, then you won't have worries. You'll be happier. As we've already learned, Eizu Ashir Sameach Bechilko. And now the Mishnah continues on, Vima Taoseken, right? And if you do so, you'll be fortunate. What is Ima Taoseken doing here? Simple meaning means that if you follow this path of getting used to surviving with a little bit, you'll always be happy. However, there's a cute story with the Rabbi Shapiro of Lublin, the one who opened up the famous yeshiva of Lublin, the one who started the Daf Yomi. He was once collecting funds for his yeshiva, the dormitory, the yeshiva, and he needed a lot of money to support his yeshiva. So he went to visit a wealthy man. And the wealthy man gave him a little bit of a hard time. And he tells the rabbi, Rabbi, listen, what do you need so much money for? To provide a dormitory and food 3 times a day, meals. After all, there's a Mishnah that says, just get by with pat b'melach tochal. Al haaretz tishan. He's using this against the rabbi. And you're collecting funds so they can have comfortable beds, these yeshiva boys. You're going against the Mishnah mefureshet. It's clearly explicit. So the rabbi gave him a whole speech about what the Torah says, how important it is to support the Torah, and so forth. But the punchline is what's nice. After giving him a speech of understanding the value of Torah, the proper value of Torah, he tells him, as far as what you say on this Mishnah, he says, you didn't read this, you didn't read the whole Mishnah. The Mishnah says, V'imata oseken, then you can tell other people to do so. If you live this kind of life yourself, then you can tell others to live like that too. Let's see you live an austere life too. Let's see you live and survive just on bread and water. If I were to see you eat like that and live like that, then I would understand. Imata oseken, if you do like that, then you can tell others to do so. But you want to live comfortable in a 6-bedroom home with servants and the comfort, and tell the yeshiva bachrim to live and to subside in the bare minimum? No, that's not right. That's not fair. You can only say that if you yourself were to follow that. Very nice. The second half of the Mishnah tells us about psychological problems that people may have. So this is more psychology. There may be some individuals who began to learn Torah sincerely, but they look at others who have made it, as they say it. The friends have become multimillionaires. This guy has a very high position. He's a CEO of a big company. And he says, well, don't I deserve a high position too, at least? Torah, maybe they'll make me a big rabbi. You know, I'm not an engineer, I'm not that, but they feel bad. They feel bad that they're not getting anywhere in life. It appears like that to them. So the second part of the Mishnah says, first of all, be very careful that if you assuming you have succeeded and you're also happy you've succeeded in Torah, al tevakesh gdula latzmecha ve'al tachmod kavod. Don't search for gdula, for great positions. Don't desire or covet honor. Why are they telling this to us? Because psychologically, I'm telling you, people who have succeeded in Torah, and I know cases like that, they're bright individuals. They already thought, well, I'm so successful, popular, for sure I'm going to be some Rosh Yeshiva, some big rabbi. No. Don't even think that way. Don't search for that. Why not? Because of what we started off learning in the beginning of this chapter, is the whole idea of Torah, ideally, is Torah lishma, for its real sake, not for any personal gain. Right? So, simplistically, if we look at it, at these words, what the Mishnah is basically telling us, is don't feel bad, but also not only don't feel bad that you don't have a high position, don't even think about pursuing this, because as much as possible you want to aim for Torah Lishma, right? Isn't that the way you started? Not for an agenda, not for some personal gain. And even if you succeeded, don't think that it's coming to you. Well, why not? Well, isn't it at least coming? No, also not. This is an interesting area that a lot of people don't understand. Let's say, all right, he's not such a big pursuer of kavod, of honor so much, but he just thinks that, Baruch Hashem, he's qualified. So doesn't it mean automatically that because he's qualified that he should get a high position in Torah right now we're talking about? And the answer is not. Because the rabbis tell us, B'shimcha yikra'ucha ubimkomcha yoshivucha. Min hashamayim, they will place you where you belong. They will call out the position that belongs to you. We don't make those choices. We may think, well, I'm qualified, I should be there. No. They know better where you belong. As another Gemara says, afilu resh garguta. Even the head of those who draw water from the well. It used to be a job to draw water from the well and to deliver water, like the milkman, deliver water from the well. So there used to be a job called resh garguta. What's resh garguta? The head of those who draw the water from the well, he would decide who draws today, who draws tomorrow. Something like that. That's a very low position. He was in charge. That was his responsibility. Manage the wells. Manage who draws the water from the well. Even that small position is determined b'shamayim. The one who got that job of leadership, he's a leader. He's the head. That's also decided b'shamayim. Everything is decided from shamayim, those kind of things. So therefore, who are we to make any claims? It's all b'shamayim. Ishtadlut, yes. But the effort is correct. But the effort should be without any disappointment. So even though you're right, that it's okay to feel out, as they say in English. Are you looking for someone? Nothing wrong with that. But as long as you're willing to accept failure, as long as you're willing to accept declined, I'm sorry, we want to give it to someone else. We don't think you're for this job. You know how many people feel heartbroken by that? Oh, you're heartbroken, you're disappointed because אתה מבקש גדולה לעצמך. Had you not been searching for it so much, if you would not be so intense about it, you wouldn't be so disappointed. What can help us not be disappointed? Midat habitachon. I will do my hishtadlut. I will do my effort. Perhaps. It depends what's involved. But if it doesn't work out, I accept it. As we say in Arabic, maktub min sama. It's written in heaven. It's already preordained what will be. If that's the case, then the people would never be disappointed. The reason why people today are so frustrated, disappointed, feel bad, is because they lack bitachon. So he's telling us, don't search for it. Al tevakesh. Al tevakesh does not mean don't make any hishtadlut. It's don't say magia li, as we say in Hebrew. It's coming to me. Tan mevakesh. Al tahmod, it says. These are powerful, strong words. Don't desire it. No. Qualify. I'll make a phone call or two, if they need. I'll fill out a resume if they ask for it. If it's vacant, I'll speak to someone. Okay, that's fine. That's normal, but not more than that. These people who don't have bitachon and who really work hard or try too hard, and eventually are frustrated, they basically are doing themselves a tremendous disfavor. They're becoming aggravated, getting an ulcer from it, feel bitter, disappointed. For what? If one would develop his midat bitachon in reliance on Hashem, he wouldn't feel like that. Then he says, "Yoter milimudcha aseh." More than what you learn, you should be active in doing ma'asim. A lot of people say, okay, now my impression is learning is so important. I'm going to learn all my life. That's very nice of you, but you have to also perform. You have to do deeds. You have to give tzedakah, you have to be kind to help people, you have to be involved in the community. You can't just learn for yourself and not do anything. Yoter milimudach aseh. You have to be more active. And we learned that before, how important the ma'asim are more than just the learning. Nonetheless, gadol haTalmud shemevi lidei ma'aseh. Talmud is so important, gadol, because it brings. If we wouldn't learn, we wouldn't know what to do. So you have to learn so you know what to do. But ultimately, don't think that this is the tachlit. Learning is the tachlit. No, learning is not the tachlit. Learning is a means for reaching the tachlit, which is ma'asim. The world needs deeds. Judaism believes in deeds. It's not a religion just of, I believe. That's it. I believe, and that's it. No, I have a good heart, people tell me. Yeah, let's see it. Can you show me? Where's the heart? I have a good heart. Good heart, you put it to work. Practice. Yes.
Rabbi in one of his Iranian or really
yeah. A good heart. Yeah, sure.
So in the sermon, Rabbi just said, don't push too much force on your heart.
Yeah. You get sick. Yeah. So yoter milimudcha aseh, ultimately, what it's all about is action, deeds. And towards the end of the Mishnah, we read, "Ve'al titaveh leshulchanam shemelachim, sheshulchancha gadol mishulchanam, vechitrach gadol mikitram." Going back to the problem that some individuals may have, psychological problems, a lack of self-esteem, a feeling of being down, a feeling of no accomplishment. So what did I do? So I know a little bit of Gemara, a little bit of Halakha and Chumash. But what did I really accomplish? I don't see any reward for all of that hard work. So it's very psychological and perhaps disturbing for some people who have learned. And in the yeshivot, you should know. I remember when I was in yeshiva, people told me that some young men go through a period called a mashber in Hebrew. A mashber is a period of feeling low, like a sense of no accomplishment. Like, what am I doing? Just learning a whole day. And there were some days that some of us there learned 17 hours. For those who were serious, you know what 17 hours means? Out of 24, we slept only 5. That's 22. And the other 2 hours were basically for the prayer and the eating. If you were really serious, on some occasions, you were able to learn 17 hours. That's not the average person. The average person, Alevai, he should learn even 6, 7 good hours. And some put in even 10 or 12. But sometimes it's possible to learn a lot more. But then people who can easily fall into the trap of depression, of feeling down, of feeling, what am I really doing here? Is this really necessary? So he tells us the reason why you may be thinking that is because you're still confused about what is out there in the world. So I'm telling you, Al titaveh leshulchanam shel melachim. Don't desire the table of the kings or their crowns. Why? A king, you should know, we respect. He's a figurehead. He's a leader. He's in charge. There's even a beracha, blessing that we say when we see a king. But guess what? Your crown is greater than his crown. Your table, where you're sitting in Olam Haba, especially in the world to come, is much more valuable, more prestigious than his table. Much more important. Why? Because if we compare Torah to royalty, royalty is a benefit in this world. Royalty, position, your highness, etc. Okay. What is Torah? Torah is light. It is such a powerful light that if it's done right, it reaches out to all the corners of the world and teaches morality to people. Musar. It transforms people. It changes them. It elevates them. So you know what you have? You have the light, this very powerful light called Torah, that is able to give out so much energy, musar, to people. You're doing something much more important than they are. So this is even in Olam Hazeh, something that is more important. We're not even talking about the reward. So that's what he's telling us. You feel down? Al titaveh, because you're thinking that theirs is better. You're thinking I'm better off there. You think I'm better off having that. No. Don't forget. Yours is greater than theirs. Your crown, in other words, what you're wearing, or your kavod, or your position, is much more elevated than theirs. Because you are, אתה מפיץ musar, אתה מפיץ or. You're giving out all this light, all this morality. You're changing people. You're affecting them. Do you know that one of the greatest mitzvot that you can do? Anybody know what that is? One of the greatest mitzvot you can do. Think about all the mitzvot in Torah, 613. Think what you think is one of the greatest mitzvot. I'll tell you right now, it's not shahita. Right? It's not slaughtering an animal, it's a mitzvah. To slaughter an animal, right. Mezuzah, it's a beautiful big mitzvah. Okay. Tzitzit,
Visiting the sick.
Visiting the sick.
Helping someone.
Helping someone. These are all nice mitzvot, right?
Bring somebody back.
The biggest, one of the biggest, I don't know what is the biggest, because he didn't tell us. He doesn't want us to know exactly. But we know from the Zohar, and we know from various sources that one of the biggest mitzvot is to bring another Jew back to tshuva. If you're able to draw one Jew back to tshuva, to repent, that he should be observant in Torah. Phew. That is one of the greatest accomplishments anyone can ever lay credit to. And especially if he has children, and as a result of that, his grandchildren, and everybody follows because of that. Woo. Nothing greater than that. Of course, Hashem knows what's greater than that. It could be people who gave their lives. Kiddush Hashem is, of course, a big mitzvah. There are many big mitzvot, but I can tell you that this is one of the greatest ones, especially in this generation. Don't desire, therefore, or covet what the kings have, even though it's true, what they have is very valuable. We're not saying it's not, but yours is more valuable. That's what's important to keep in mind. And finally, when you're thinking about reward, you can trust him, even though he's giving you a post-dated check. He's not paying you now. You can trust him. There's funds to cover it. He's going to give you, and it's going to be paid. When? Olam haba. Even though there are some benefits of Torah in this world too, the main reward is always in Olam haba. This last statement, and this is the last statement of this Mishnah, is a very difficult statement for many, many Jews. One of the greatest nisyonot, one of the greatest challenges Jews have in general is that they don't see being rewarded for all their righteousness and all their love and dedication. They don't see. They continue to be poor, perhaps suffering, perhaps there's some kids who are sick in the family. You know, which brings us to the question of Madua Tzadik V'Ra'lo Rasha V'Tolo. Why are the wicked prospering and the righteous suffering? Famous question, right? Another topic altogether. So you can have some average individuals who are not that learned or do not have the proper hashkafa outlook, saying to themselves, but wait a minute, but I don't see any gain or benefit now. I know it's no Olam haba, but how do I know for sure? And, you know, they're confused. So it's a challenge. It's a big nisayon. And nisayon means they're being challenged. Do you really believe, or you just say you believe? Well, if you really believe, you wouldn't complain. So the following story tells us about this kind of an incident, how this can happen in life, and how people choose the wrong path as a result of their weak faith. The Chafetz Chaim, which most of you heard about, who wrote many, many books, tremendous tzaddik, passed away in 1933. On more than one occasion, he had to go to the censor. You know what a censor does? To review what he's about to publish, that there's nothing against the king, nothing against the religion of the country, nothing against who knows what. And who would review Hebrew books? A Jewish censor who can read Hebrew, right? So the government would appoint a Jew who would censor, review. And it usually, of course, was not a very religious Jew at all who took such a position. But it was a well-paid position. So the Chafetz Chaim came, and you know, he was a very simple man, the way he dressed. Comes up to the office of this Jew called Steinberg. And Mr. Steinberg looks at him, and he recognized him. And he said, Israel Meir. He called him by his first name. Remember me? We went to elementary school together. Look at where I have come to and what I have accomplished. Look at my position and look at you. You know, I didn't go through all that Torah. I didn't learn as much. And look at this. I have a nice house. I'm a comfortable job. I'm well paid. And look at you with all your Torah. What has that given you? What has it brought you? You're still wearing an old coat. You're having to come and ask favors from another Jew. Live like me. That's what he told him. So the Chafetz Chaim told him, on my way to your office, a big chariot with very, very nice horses, fancy looking, stopped. And the guy was very nice, the guy who was riding, and offered me a ride. And I asked him where he was going, and it turned out that he was going in the opposite direction of where I was going, so I had to respectfully decline. He says, you and I are going in two opposite directions. I don't intend to go where you're going, so I respectfully decline. I want to get to my destination, safe and sound. Yeah, very powerful words. Yeah, he knew where he's going. If we know where we're going, we have to decline all these offers that appear attractive offers. Who can decline? Who has the strength to decline? Only one who has learned Torah, a good amount of Torah, and who has been convinced that this is so special and so beautiful and so important that he will never be discouraged from continuing this kind of a lifestyle. One who has not learned Torah, just a little bit here, he heard a sermon from the rabbi, a little bit in grade school, a little bit he picked up, he still does not know what the value of Torah is. In order for a person to be so strong and convinced, you have to try it out. You have to sit and learn and see, wow, it's so beautiful, it's amazing, it's incredible. And little by little he becomes convinced that this is the ultimate purpose of why we're here. This is what we're here for. And it must be that the reward is so great, that it's worth my time and effort. Just to finish up, now that we've seen how important the value of Torah and how valuable the Torah is, you can understand the opposition of Amalek towards Torah. Who's Amalek today? Well, who was Amalek at least 70 years ago? The Nazis. We have Amalek from time to time, rearing its head, opposing Torah. That's their job. They're completely against this. This is what life is all about. This is the purpose of creation. This is light. And they represent darkness, right? There's light and there's darkness. There's purity, there's impurity. Right? We have opposites in this world in order to enable free will. But not only do we have free will, unfortunately we actually have war sometimes between those forces. And that's what Amalek is, to fight mostly the Jew. Because the Jew carries the torch of Torah. And we have to stop him. Because he's going to transform the whole world with that light. And we don't want that because we don't care for that. We don't believe in that. They believe the exact opposite. So you understand right now why the Torah is so against Amalek. Destroy them before they destroy you, because the two of you cannot coexist. You're two opposite. And Hashem made, of course, Hashem made them. Hashem made them to enable free will. But it's dangerous stuff. They went after the rabbis. They went after the Torah. They tore. They burned the shuls. What do you want? You want the Jews' money? Take their money. Go. No, we don't want them to exist. We want to gas them in the gas chambers. We want to obliterate Chaz v'Shalom. That's what Amalek tries to do. Kick them out of your country. That's enough. No. It's not enough to kick them out. We're going to go after them everywhere we find them. It tells you, and you see this. This is not Genghis Khan. This is not years ago. This is not just brutality because we're talking about jihadists. This is not just about people who are philosophical about what they believe. This is an agenda. Stamp out Torah and those who represent Torah. And especially in the generation of Mashiach, we see unfortunately how many groups of people will try to weaken the Torah. In Israel even. This is one of the signs that Mashiach is coming any day. All of a sudden a tremendous opposition to this light, because the light of Mashiach is coming. Anything that represents Torah, which is what's protecting us, which is what's saving us, they'll try to remove. Send those guys to the army in Israel. Do anything to take away Torah from them, weaken them. Even though they say we mean well, and even though there may be some benefits to that, but still, it's coming, all those advice and all those suggestions is not coming from very good, positive-minded people. So we know that their plan and agenda cannot be so positive. Once the Satan wanted to give a good idea, one of the tzaddikim asked, who is giving us this idea? Who is the one that's recommending this good idea? The Satan, I don't want to hear about it. If it comes from the Satan, it cannot be such a good idea. You have to be very careful. Anything that comes to weaken the Torah is not so good. But in the generation of Mashiach, when we hear that there's going to be so much chutzpah, lack of respect for Torah, for Talmidei Chachamim, it is no wonder. Because these are the last days. And there's a big struggle and a big fight between light and darkness. So any way we can weaken, they're going to try to weaken. On the other hand, Torah has to be strengthened because so much of it was lost in the Holocaust. They don't understand that is why Hashem made so much kolelim in yeshivot. For good reason, because Torah has to reestablish itself. People have to become balei tshuva. They have to go to sources of Torah. Jews have to become stronger in their emunah. So there has to be more light of Torah. So of course you have to find a way to make peace with everyone, but not al cheshbon Torah. You have to be very careful that the Torah, if anything, is strengthened and not weakened. And in the generation of Mashiach, unfortunately, there will be a lot of fights, because it's a fight between light and darkness. And last but not least, as parents, for those of you who have children, or future parents, it's important to elevate the Torah in the eyes of our kids. If the parents love Torah, they support Torah, they admire Torah, and they admire rabbis and Talmidei Chachamim, and they go to shooting themselves, then the children will do so as well. The parents are not respectful, they talk bad about rabbis and about certain individuals, and they create baseless hatred. Not only is that bad in itself, what are the children going to pick up? So in order for the Torah to be strong in future generations, it's important for us to make sure that we admire it so that they can continue to admire it. And in the merit of us elevating the Torah, B'ezrat Hashem, we will merit that our children, our grandchildren, all our great-grandchildren will continue to learn Torah. As the Pasuk says, Lo yamush sefer HaTorah ze mipinu, u'mipi zarenu, u'mipi zera zarenu, ad olam, that forever the Torah should be in our home, in our midst. Amen.